What's up, everybody? This video was previously released on October 8th of 2022. It is the review of both Alien vs. Predator and its sequel, Alien vs. Predator Requiem. I made a couple changes, to make it more copyright friendly, and I put it in my normal border format that I've been doing lately. This re-upload has nothing to do with the fact that Alien Romulus just came out and the Alien tag on the algorithm is hot. I am completely doing this for the artistic reasons only. With that being said, let's enjoy a quick revisit to my review of Alien vs. Predator and Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Crossovers. Many fans dream of crossovers. Crossovers have been a part of cinema since the 1930s. With the original Universal horror movie monsters having many crossovers in film, there was King Kong vs. Godzilla like 2 fucking times, the Jetsons and the Flintstones. There is no concept more appealing to moviegoers, TV watchers, gamers, and comic book fans than crossing over 2 franchises and seeing the characters interact with and or fight each other. However, many times a crossover is better in concept than in execution. This particularly relates to film and television. Comic books and video games seem to have a better grasp on making it work, but film, the results are mid at best. In 2003, the long-awaited Freddy vs. Jason was released, and it was a major success. The hype for this movie was insane. They marketed the shit out of it. They did a fucking weigh-in press conference in Vegas, for fuck's sakes. It was like the swan song for 80 slasher movies, in concept. In execution, Freddy vs. Jason kinda sucked ass. I was hyped to see it in the theater as a kid, because I'd never seen an R-rated slasher film in the theater, but growing up and remaining a fan of both franchises, yeah, it's safe to say Freddy vs. Jason underdelivered. It had a lot of early 2000s cringe, some bad CGI, and it was really just mid at best. Also, Freddy doesn't fucking kill like anybody in this movie. I actually fucking hate this movie. We waited over a decade for this, fans of the series waited over a decade, and they got mediocrity. Now, if you're a fan of the Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street series, you know the stories of the development hell that Freddy vs. Jason went through, how it was supposed to come out in the 90s and just kept getting pushed back repeatedly. But during this time period, both the Alien and Predator series was sort of in a sorry state when it came to development. Predator 2 underperformed both critically and commercially, and that got the series shelved. And then Alien could never really live up to the hype of its second movie because Alien 3 was released and hated, and then they did Alien Resurrection, which was released and also kinda hated just a few years after. Fox always seemed to like Alien more than Predator, hence why I guess they were open to giving the Alien series like a million second chances even when it didn't perform well. But either way, in the early 2000s, Fox was gearing up to give Alien one last chance. They wanted to produce a screenplay written by Ridley Scott, directed by James Cameron, and with Sigourney Weaver reprising her role as Ripley. At one point, I remember reading that Arnold was also going to be involved, but that was probably just rumors. This shit was pretty much almost ready to go when Fox, having seen the box office success of Freddy vs. Jason, decided to just yank the whole project down and move forward with an Alien vs. Predator movie instead. Honestly, I complain a lot about the film industry today, and yeah, it's shit, but that like late 90s to early 2000s period was just like an abortion. An Alien vs. Predator film had actually been in consideration at Fox as early as the mid-90s, all because production thought it would be a fun gag to throw an alien skull in the back of the Predator ship at the end of Predator 2. In actuality, the first crossover between the Alien and the Predator was in Dark Horse Presents issue number 36, which was released in 1990, a few months before Predator 2. But it was the alien head appearing at the end of Predator 2 that really sparked the initial interest. A few scripts were pitched to Fox, but Fox never pulled the trigger on any of them, despite how popular the idea was with fans of both series. Honestly, Alien vs. Predator, in terms of the comics and video games, is probably one of the better crossovers ever done. The games are really fun, they're really well made. Comics, same thing, they're really fun to read, really well drawn and written, so really it's a shock that it took them this long to get to doing an Alien vs. Predator movie. But by 2004, they were ready to rock, and fans of both the Alien and Predator series and the comics and video games for Alien vs. Predator could not be more excited. Fox would have to pick one hell of a director to helm this project, someone who knew how to really make a good action sci-fi movie and not skimp on the thick plot or engaging characters, to give us all the violence and chaos we wanted, and who had a perfectly good track record with respecting the source material that was being adapted. And then they picked up Paul W.S. Anderson. Ah, shit! Paul W.S. Anderson is pretty much on every gamer's shit list for making shitty adaptations. He did the PG-13 Mortal Kombat, which I'm sad to say is probably his best movie, and he did those god-awful Resident Evil movies. And then Event Horizon, which apparently has a better cut somewhere, but that's, lost forever. Sure, Paul. Anyway, Anderson apparently had a script in the works from 8 years prior. The initial story was to adapt the Dark Horse comic series featuring Machiko Noguchi, the human who ends up being accepted into Predator society. And somewhere that all changed, and we got a story that uses the concept of aliens building the pyramids, but with the Predators in the place of the aliens. And then they decided it should be set in the modern day in Antarctica in some underground pyramid because they wanted it to be cheap and not require any extensive prop department and set designs, and for it to be easy to film on a closed set. I mean, they wanted to pay homage to the thing. I don't know, it was stupid. I remember being super hyped for this movie as a kid because I was a huge Alien fan and a huge Predator fan, and I loved the Alien vs. Predator games, so these two finally meeting on the big screen was like a dream come true for me. I would read IMDb's page on it for updates, but when it was revealed that the movie was set in modern day Earth, I just fucking knew it wasn't going to be very good. In concept, the idea was for it to be a prequel to the Alien movies, but a sequel to the Predator movies, and we had a fuckload of source material and Alien vs. Predator comics and video games, all of which made use of a futuristic setting for the better, and yeah, this was clearly a budget issue. It's a lot cheaper to build some run-of-the-mill pyramid set than it would be to do a whole outside scenario on a planet, or to do a spaceship design with, some future-looking weapons. Ugh. The way this movie gets going reminds me of those god-awful Roland Emmerich movies, kind of like Independence Day, maybe a few of the other ones, I don't fucking know. The pacing, just how it's trying to get the fucking exposition and character introductions out of the way, saying, fuck plot, let's just get to the monsters and shit. Who's this guy? Who gives a shit? He's gonna be dead in an hour. Basically, the fucking Weyland Corporation discovers a heat signature under the ice in Antarctica and decides to assemble a crack team of quirky but one-dimensional film characters to investigate it, led by Alexa Woods, an Arctic and Antarctic expert and guide. Honestly, I fucking hate the supporting cast in the movie. Alexa Woods is like an okay character, I don't have a problem with her, but it's like, the other characters, I don't even know their names. There's like Italian archaeology guy who knows mystical shit, there's the nerd, there's the fucking weird guy, there's tough gruff McFuck, there's not Vasquez, and then there's Lance Henriksen because they needed to connect this to the fucking series somehow. So we get to Antarctica after introducing all the characters, and we get more exposition, and then we get this moment where Alexa wants to back out due to the rushed nature of the expedition, but then quirky ethnic stereotype number 2 and Bishop's ancestor convince her to stay, and we find this cool little Antarctic whaling station where apparently all the inhabitants disappeared 100 years ago. Now, they actually did shoot a scene depicting what happened at what they call Razorback Point in 1904, 100 years before the movie's events, but it was cut from the theatrical release. It can only be seen in the special edition released on home media, which is absent from the Disney Plus release. And yeah, in Canada, they just put all these movies on Disney Plus. It's kind of awesome, but I really wish they would put the special editions of like all the movies, like fucking Alien 3. The theatrical cut of Alien 3 is fucking garbage. You gotta put the extended cut. Following this, it goes from a Roland Emmerich introduction to a sort of poor man's version of the first act of Alien. We get a lot of wandering around the ice station, a fake jump scare with a penguin, and then finally, they decide to start tunneling down to this pyramid under the ice. But in a fun twist of irony, someone beat them there. Yeah, it's the fucking Predator. They lasered their way down from space, and we're gonna get going with this. I'm not expecting a high viewing experience from this movie at this point. Like, all this exposition, all this build-up, it's just like the epitome of when are they gonna get to the fireworks factory. So the main group finally goes down into the hole to the pyramid, and then the Predators show up and start killing a bunch of these expedition people who just conveniently have fucking firearms. Now, it is explained by Not Vasquez, and what I could say is probably one of the best lines in the movie.
I don't plan on using it.
Then why bring it?
Same principle as a condom. I'd rather have one and not need it than need it and not have one.
That's the stupidest fucking thing I ever heard.
And what we get is a whole lot of bloodless carnage. Why, you may ask? Well, this was a fucking PG-13 movie. Because Paul W.S. Anderson, everyone, he'll take a really cool concept and then just make it shit just so the kids could go see it. Ugh. I always found it funny, though, that the dude tried to pistol whip a fucking 8-foot-tall invisible alien after seeing that bullets literally do nothing. I don't know why it's like there's dumb characters in film, but then there's just complete fucking morons in film. But from this, we do get an obligatory Mario 64 reference. Guys, if that action sequence was too intense for you, I got good news for you. We got more wandering around the fucking pyramid. The group finds a sacrificial chamber that has a bunch of skeletons containing the suspicious chest implosion wounds, and eventually the group triggers a sequence which awakens a frozen xenomorph queen, who just immediately starts queefing out eggs. By removing the plasma casters left in the pyramid, the group alerts the three hunters, who decide to run like Batman and Robin after them. Oh, and since this is 2004, the Matrix was still fresh in everyone's mind, so we get this like stupid slow-mo CGI crapfest shot with the fucking face huggers. This whole sequence just really serves as a reminder that the fucking writers just cannot make up their minds on how long it takes for a xenomorph to hatch. I guess it's like a trip to the DMV. Sometimes it can take all day, sometimes it just takes like 20 minutes. If you want me to sum up the problem with AVP's content with one scene, I think this pretty much sums it up. I'm not against a PG-13 sci-fi or horror movie, and I do believe that you can be effective without showing excessive violence, but the Predator and Alien series are known for their hardcore violence, so having the scream and blood splatter thing is just so fucking cheap. Like seriously, I expect that if this was like a made-for-TV thing, but this was a fucking major motion picture. I will say I appreciate the fake out. You think, oh, he's covered in all that ice and shit, the Predators aren't gonna see him, he's gonna get up and warn everybody, but like, come on. So the whole background of this crossover is that the xenomorph is just very popular prey for the predators due to its high level of danger, and xenomorph hunts are considered a rite of passage in predator culture. Hence why they set up on Earth, and I assume they have situations like this on other planets as well. So these predators are younger predators called unblooded in expanded universe material. Okay, so we're getting to the peak point of the movie. The crew is ambushed by the now very pissed off predators, and they are slaughtered accordingly. But it's a PG-13 slaughtering, so it's a lot of off-screen deaths. There's a cock tease moment when we think Colin Salmon, the guy who got cubed by the lasers in Resident Evil, is gonna get a good death with a net gun, and we just get another one of those, like, blade going through, hitting ground, little blood trickle. It's just like, fuck you, Paul Anderson. Fuck you too, Fox. I'm glad you got bought out. Like, it's halfway into the movie, and we haven't gotten anything good. We've gotten a lot of screaming off-screen deaths, and most of the human cast is fucking now dead at this point. The complete lack of substance is astonishing. But finally, something from the heavens comes when we actually get to see the alien and predator meet on screen for the first time. And honestly, I have to say this is the best part of the movie. The first predator gets wiped pretty fast. It's established that xenomorphs can see through the predator's cloak, and then we get a pretty cool fight between the bigger predator and this alien, and it's fucking awesome. I'll say this. This fight scene is really cool, but that's it. It's just cool. It's not like really, you know, not a lot of meat to it. It's just dumb action, and some of the cheap CGI looks pretty bad, but it's a good back and forth fight. I like that the alien doesn't really get nerfed here. I imagine without the plasma gun, a predator and an alien have an equal chance of killing one another. They do a pretty good fake out where you think the predator is gonna win, but then the acid blood eats through the net and boom. And yeah, of course, when it comes to the fucking gore on the predator and alien, they don't skimp on it. I actually think that this alien here is pretty cool. They call him, you know, Grid in the script. And, you know, throughout some of the Alien comics and the games, whenever a hive is present, there's always a signature alien who isn't a queen, but displays increased intellect and is sort of the alpha of the pack. Grid Alien is pretty much that. It's an aspect of alien lore I would like to see get explored more in film, but no, instead of getting a cool movie with a hive, we get Michael Fassbender trying to fucking have gay sex with himself. Moving into the third act, we're down to one predator and two humans at this point, and this is a landmark movie because when Bishop dies at the hands of a predator, it makes him the only actor besides Bill Paxton to be killed on screen by a xenomorph, a Terminator, and a predator. Alexa and Italian lore guy wander around trying to avoid the constantly shifting pyramid while the predator kills a xenomorph and marks himself, but uh-oh. So Italian guy can read the hieroglyphs, and we get this flashback depicting the predators visiting the ancient Antarctic civilization. I forgot to go into it earlier, but basically the lore plays on the fact that Antarctica was once free of ice and had a civilization living on it, as the pyramid shows hints of Aztec, Egyptian, and Cambodian pyramid architecture. It is believed that they are the first ever human civilization, and essentially the predators showed these early humans how to build in exchange for sacrifices. Those sacrifices being that the civilization provides hosts for xenomorphs. I don't know how this would be scrawled on the pyramid walls, but eventually the outbreak got out of hand and the predators nuked the entire place. Yeah, it's kind of funny how much both the Alien and Predator series have gone out of their way to completely disregard this movie and its sequel, but without disregarding the possibility of aliens and predators existing in the same universe. Ridley Scott hated this movie so much that Prometheus pretty much just, like, went out of its way to disregard this movie, and then Prey states that it is the Predator's first arrival on Earth, which was in the early 1700s, not in ancient times. It's decided that due to the rapid breeding habits and hostility of the xenomorphs, the best course of action is to give the Predator his plasma caster and, you know, try to make it see reason, which Predators are capable of. Italian guy gets captured, we get a sort of dark comedy moment with Spud from Trainspotting, and then Alexa runs into the Predator, hands over the plasma caster, and proves herself when she kills a xenomorph in single combat. This convinces the Predator to give her entry into his clan, which is directly lifted from the Alien vs. Predator comics with Machiko. In fact, Alexa is basically just that character with a modern twist and a race lift. The temporary alliance between Alexa and the Predator seems to be going well. The Predator gives Alexa weapons that are acid-proof, and I gotta say, them communicating with each other without words is probably, from a filmmaking standpoint, the best aspect of the movie. Honestly, it could have just been a short film in an anthology series where a Predator and a human have to work together to survive. But anyway, the Predator blows up the hive, and they all live happily ever after. Like, I remember my friend watching this, and he's like, why the fuck does it look like the Predator and the girl are gonna kiss? But no, they don't kiss. In fact, the Queen was freed earlier, and she managed to make it to the surface before the self-destruct device went off. I gotta say, this final battle isn't bad either. The puppet for the Queen they used earlier looks good, but honestly, the CGI for the Queen isn't too bad. I think it's because they're using like a darker kind of outside thing. But either way, the Predator and Alexa work together, and the Predator gets impaled through the back, and Alexa is able to sink the Queen to the bottom of the Antarctic Ocean, where I'm sure it didn't die. These things can survive the fucking vacuum of space. But either way, the Predators come down and collect their fallen comrade and give Alexa a spear as a prize, and she goes off to the Snowcat, and we don't know what happens. Alien vs. Predator is an important film to me, not because it's good, it's not good. It has good parts, but it's not good. When you're a kid, maybe between the ages of like 3 and 12, most movies you see, even if they're bad, are still enjoyable to the point that you consider them good. It's like a childlike wonder type thing. It's what 30 to 40-year-old men are doing now over the Marvel movies. Movies can do no wrong as long as they feed your cravings for action, cool moments, and or comedy. Where no matter what you saw, if it was moderately entertaining or exciting or funny, you'd leave the theater satisfied. Even if it was a complete fucking shitfest that lacked substance completely, because our minds weren't fully developed, we didn't look too deep into things. There are 3 movies that broke this in me. The first one is Men in Black 2. That was the first time I came out of a movie genuinely disappointed. There was Alien vs. Predator, which I just talked about, and then there was X-Men 3, and I'll admit X-Men 3 was probably the least disappointing, but it still kind of sucked. I saw Alien vs. Predator with my uncle, and like, it was a fun theater movie, but I wasn't really satisfied with what we got. It was kind of lame. That's the problem with this movie, is you take a concept that by all fucking means should at least be awesome and exciting, and then you take every wrong step you can take in making it. Setting it on Earth, fail. Putting it in an enclosed setting, fail. Making it in the modern day, fail. PG-13 rating, fucking fail.
You are one ugly mother.
Another major issue I have is that we all know that both the Alien and Predator movies are known for having a solid lead in addition to a strong supporting cast of interesting characters. You know, we got Parker, Hicks, Hudson, Vasquez, Billy, Mac, Dylan, Morris, Dylan, John, Urquhart, Stans, Hanzo, Shushilo, etc. The supporting cast in Alien vs. Predator is just so fucking flat, and you know they only exist to die. Alexa isn't terrible, but she doesn't stand out as anything other than a character in a Paul W.S. Anderson film until near the end of the movie. They don't really give anybody anything interesting to do or say, and everyone besides Alexa and maybe the Italian guy are completely fucking useless. Would have been easier to make this good than to make it bad, and somehow Paul W.S. Anderson completely fucked it up. I'm surprised Mila Jovovich didn't show up and kill the entire hive by herself and then get naked and go on a monologue about how much she likes sucking Paul Anderson's prostate through his asshole. Oh, and of course we're gonna get a sequel hook. It's one of these movies. Yeah, in the games we see the Predalien, which is a xenomorph that spawned from a predator. It's one of the cooler things introduced in the expanded universe, and we get a sequel hook with the Predalien bursting out of the main predator. Oh boy, what could be next? Maybe the predators freeze it and the sequel takes place hundreds of years later and has colonial marines involved, you know, or maybe it's just a nah, why would we get something cool or well thought out like that? Spooky season is the time for horror double features, so this video serves as a double feature review because I am also going to take a look at the sequel to Alien vs. Predator, Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Why is it called that? that, I don't fucking know. So the director or directors of Alien vs. Predator Requiem are the Strauss brothers, Colin and Greg, two brothers who normally did special effects that, when they were young, moved out to Los Angeles and tried to get a job at Industrial Light and Magic, only to be rejected and create their own effects studio. They initially pitched the first Alien vs. Predator film in the early 2000s, but were turned down, but hey, they got their chance to do the sequel. Alien vs. Predator Requiem has some of the same problems as the first one: the lack of a compelling story, complete disregard for canon, and characters that range from unremarkable to just plain annoying. But it's also a hard R rating and contains some very nihilistic subject material, so immediately I will reveal that I consider this one to be better than the first one. But why? Well, let's get into it, shall we? AVPR picks up directly after the first Alien vs. Predator. The Predator ship ascends from Antarctica right after the Predalien hatches, and I guess the ship kind of decides to hang around for a while until the Predalien is fully grown, at which point it kills the entire fucking crew and the ship crashes into rural Colorado, where it's discovered by a dad taking his kid hunting. And of course, they get face-hugged because there was face-huggers on the Predator ship, but not before the dad gets disarmed by the face-hugger's acid blood. So we get introduced to one of our protagonists, Ricky, played by that guy from Sons of Anarchy who stabbed an old lady to death and then killed her cat. He's an awkward teen pizza boy who has eyes for the popular girl Jessie, but hey, her boyfriend's a prick. Geez, teen drama in an Alien Predator movie? Yeah, it's kind of a weird choice, but I'll allow it, I guess. Ricky also has a brother named Dallas, who has an amicable relationship with the town sheriff despite just being let out of prison. I gotta say, one thing I appreciate about Alien vs. Predator Requiem is the fact that it has a lot of fucking balls, because within the first 20 minutes we see a kid give birth to a chest burster. Aliens, of course, implied that children are not safe, but we've never actually seen a child get chest bursted. I'll give it credit for that. But in the meantime, a warning message is sent to the Predator homeworld, which sadly is the first time in the series we actually get to see it, and we're introduced to a battle-scarred veteran Predator who is summoned to get to Earth and clean up the problem. This Predator is one of the most fucking badass Predators ever put to screen, and we're gonna see why very shortly. So there's a bunch of expository crap, but the next big thing to happen is a bunch of hobos get accosted by facehuggers, and then the Predalien comes out and corners a woman. And I'm gonna just drop this hint here, that Predalien is actually a Praetorian, which in the expanded universe material is an immature queen. This is gonna come back later for something glorious. Alright, so the local sheriff's department and the citizens of Gunnison, Colorado set out to search for the missing father and son hunting duo. One of the deputies strays a little too far from the path and stays out a little too late and manages to catch the Predator destroying the evidence of the crash. Unfortunately for the officer, his radio goes off and alerts the Predator of his presence, and he is swiftly dealt with. In the meantime, Ricky was fired as a pizza boy because the bully threw his car keys in the sewer. It's also hilarious that Ricky's manager is fucking Rickety Cricket from It's Always Sunny.
Whoa! You got me!
The trash man!
You got me with the can!
Oh shit, I get you, Cricket!
And he just narrowly avoids a confrontation with the literal xenomorph hive in the sewer. Despite seeing a chestburster in the pipe, the two manage to escape just fine because plot armor. More teen drama, more crap. We meet this woman who just came back from the army, and she's happy to see her daughter, but her daughter's being kind of shitty, etc. Alright, this is where the movie really picks up. The xenomorphs have been breeding in the sewers, the Predator goes in after them, and we get the first of several cool action sequences. The Predator knows something is up in the sewers, so he's taking every precaution he can while traversing underground. If not for this movie's god-awful lighting, it would be a great scene. And yeah, there was this viral video of the lighting guy complaining about the lighting budget being shit. It's pretty funny, but either way, a few aliens get killed, the Predator and the Predalien finally meet face to face for the first time, but we don't get a true fight. The fight does, however, manage to cause the aliens to escape the sewers, and in case you didn't piece this together, they fucking run amok and start killing people. The Predator at this point is really just trying his darndest to mitigate the damage done and flatten the curve of the xenomorph spread, but he's not doing such a hot job. And then he fucking blows the power while Ricky, in an attempt to stick it in Jessie, is jumped at the school by the bullies. And then an alien decides to take a dip as well, and this is fucking glorious, but hey, the lighting's bad so we don't get to see anything. I think the best aspect of this movie is just how rapidly everything goes to shit when xenomorphs are on Earth. As bad as the plot is, as shitty as the lighting is, this movie does answer the lifelong question of what would happen if xenomorphs landed on Earth. The entire entire situation just breaks down in like record time. The army woman's husband gets mauled by a xenomorph as she runs off with her daughter. Ricky, Jesse, Dallas, and the sheriff group up and eventually find the fucking two, and then they end up holed up in a gun store. We get some character development and a scene that is eerily reminiscent of Return of the Living Dead, where the military are wiped out by the threat while the trapped protagonists just listen on via radio. You would think a Return of the Living Dead reference in an Alien vs. Predator movie is a strange choice, but Return of the Living Dead was directed by Dan O'Bannon, screenwriter of the first Alien movie, so it kinda works. Also, this was released in 2007, the movie itself takes place in 2004, so this movie came out just near the end of the Bush administration, so we're treated to stoned out conspiracy theorists.
We've been attacked.
Terrorists hit Gunnison?
Told you they would one day. What are you guys, stoned?
I kinda miss when terrorism was really the only thing we had to worry about instead of viruses, mass shootings, stabbings, working a job that doesn't pay you enough to live, etc. Oh, the hospital scene. You gotta let me talk about the hospital scene. During the storm, around when the power goes out, there's this whole deal at the hospital where the Predalien scopes out the place as the perfect place to set up a nest. And just like everything about this scene is so fucking morbid and fucked up that I love it. The implied death of newborn babies? Check. The Predalien forcibly injecting embryos directly down a pregnant woman's throat while the others watch, unable to really do anything or run? Check. The implication that the fucking baby xenomorphs devoured the unborn baby in the womb before blowing out of a pregnant chick's stomach? Check. This is fucking so sadistic that I kind of love it. Children more often than not have plot armor in films. There's exceptions. I think the first time I was truly shocked by the death of a child in a horror movie was in the fucking Blob remake, which this movie does kind of remind me of that remake just based on the setting, but my god, those babies are fucking so dead, and the doctor gets his face blown in, and this sequence is just disgusting and nihilistic, but in the best possible way. I'm curious as to how the fucking directors got away with this. Did Fox just say fuck it? Like, they just like, let's let these guys do whatever the fuck they want? It's insane. This is like fucking so morbid. So a roundup of the survivors, we have the hunter's wife, the sheriff, Ricky, Dallas, Bully, Jesse, army woman and her daughter, and the stoners, and they end up in a hairy situation when the predator uses Dallas as a lure for some xenomorphs. The stoners bite it pretty fast, and in one of the most satisfying moments in the film, the bully gets a face full of fucking acid blood. The group finds what's left of the National Guard and gets into a crawler and on the radio, where they speak to a commanding officer of the military who instructs them to get to the center of town for an evacuation via helicopter. Army woman catches on to an inconsistency, stating that they wouldn't do an evacuation in the center of town because there's no place to land a helicopter. The sheriff decides to trust the government because, in the word of the hunter's wife,
"That's crazy. The government doesn't lie to people."
That's the last little death rattle of post 9/11 America, kids. Enjoy it, because political satire is gonna get really lame after this. So the group splits, as the sheriff truly believes that the government is not going to contain the spread by any means necessary. On the flip side, Rickety Cricket ditches his Halloween 4 reenactment club to get into the tank, and the group heads to the hospital in order to, get to the chopper. At this point, the hospital is a fucking hive. Cricket gets grabbed by a xenomorph. Jesse, who I legit forgot was in the movie, spazzes out and runs through the hallway just as the Predator throws his shuriken at the Predalien, which happens to connect with Jesse. In a movie filled with shocking deaths, this was pretty shocking. You'd think she would get out and her and Ricky would live happily ever after, but nope, fucking shuriken in the gut, bye-bye love interest. After finally teasing out throughout the whole goddamn movie, the Predator and the Predalien finally face off, although I find it weird that the Predalien just kinda stood there while the Predator unmasked, but fuck it, this scene's cool and it's actually lit pretty well. Sure, the stuff with the main characters escaping is one thing, it's moderately entertaining, but we came to see aliens fight predators, and it kinda ends in a draw a la Freddy vs. Jason because Army Woman was right, the army just fucking nukes everything. The helicopter crashes, but everyone makes it out okay, and they're confronted by the army. Now, in the original draft of the movie, it was gonna end with the screen just fucking cutting to black and the sounds of automatic gunfire going off, but someone had to step in and say, look, you made this movie really dark, violent, and stomach churning. You really don't need to have it end on a complete down note. So they have the characters really have an ambiguous fate, but they hand over the Predator's plasma pistol, which is then shown to the president of the Yutani Corporation, hinting at another sequel. Yeah, this movie didn't get a sequel. This movie was even more poorly received than the first one, but I fucking actually love this movie for all the wrong reasons. It's a violent, nihilistic mess, but like, fuck it, that shit's great. The Alien and Predator scenes obviously steal the show. The teen drama seems almost satirical, or that the writers just begrudgingly did it. That era of horror always tried to shoehorn in a teen drama, and I get the feeling this was an executive order to have young, sexy characters in teen drama to appeal to a demographic. And the fucking death is like everywhere in this movie. It had a lot of fucking balls, I'll give this movie that. For all its flaws, it does pretty much sum up what a xenomorph infestation would be like on Earth. Everything just going to shit in rapid order, people being attacked in their homes and the government just nuking everything from orbit. And clearly the creators of this movie were fans of the source material and of horror in general. They were a bit Predator-centric because the main Predator, named Wolf, pretty much has no issue with your run-of-the-mill xenomorphs and is a solid badass throughout the whole picture. AVP Requiem pays tribute to both franchises and has a bit of other horror references thrown in. I like this movie, but I know it's a steaming pile of horseshit. Honestly, it's considered the worst of both series, and while I can't argue for it being better than any other movie, if you put a gun to my head and placed The Predator, Alien vs. Predator 1, and Alien vs. Predator Requiem out and said I had to watch one, I would probably 100% choose this movie. The first Alien vs. Predator movie was a moderate box office success, made $177 million versus a $60 million budget. Alien vs. Predator Requiem was a pretty huge failure critically, but it actually didn't do too bad commercially. Honestly, I think it saved a lot of money because I don't remember seeing any commercials or trailers for this movie. I remember hearing about it, I totally forgot it was even coming out, and then one day I saw a bootleg DVD of it at my corner store and I grabbed it for like $5. I think the lack of advertising probably helped Fox retain a large sum of the $130 million they made versus their $40 million budget. It has an extremely low rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which yeah, I know Rotten Tomatoes isn't the benchmark for film quality, but like, this movie got almost like no good reviews. Following the abysmal reception of Alien vs. Predator, the Alien vs. Predator franchise would return to just being in comic books and video games, and the idea of a big screen crossover was never floated again. The Alien and Predator franchises would go their separate ways, but would fail to really find their footing in this time period. Predators was a good movie, I liked Predators, but nobody seemed to care about it. Prometheus was boring, but I do respect how it was made, and Alien Covenant was kinda shit. I'm not even gonna talk about The Predator, I fucking hate that movie. However, with the release of Prey on Hulu to rave reviews and Noah Hawley's upcoming Alien TV series, I feel I should remind everybody that this video was made before Alien Romulus was even announced. And no, I haven't seen it yet, so don't fucking spoil it in the comments. A new renaissance for the Alien and Predator franchises is in order, and perhaps we will get a proper crossover someday. I just want another first-person shooter game, to be honest, because those games were fun as shit. These movies, though, they're pretty bad, but I think the point of the first one was to just make a movie that had a title, a decent tagline, a trailer, and some action to keep you and your teenage kids entertained for a couple hours. The second one, I really don't know what the point of it was, but fuck if I didn't get a sick enjoyment out of it. Halloween has just begun. That was the first of 2 double feature reviews for this spooky season. What were your thoughts on the Alien vs. Predator series? Let me know in the comments, and I must take my leave now for, here's the fucking clip.
Saw it. It was real.
See? No monster.